All right, all right. Hey, this is Eileen Nicole. This is Love Eileen Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning on in. Today, I wanted to talk about a topic. Now, this was a viral topic a few days ago. There was a topic about Amber Rose talking about her unbelief in God and some of the reasons why. So I wanted to talk about that and really just in general, the top 5 reasons that non-believers either deny or they don't believe in God at all. So I wanted to go over that today. And I'm not going to play Amber Rose's interview because I don't know if there's going to be like a copyright strike, and I've gotten one of those before. So I'm not going to add the video here. However, I will put the link to the interview in the description box, and you can check it out for yourself. The interview starts, I believe, at like the 34-minute. Well, the part where she's talking about God, it's like the 34-minute mark. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the top 5 reasons, primarily because this is an ongoing thing. Now, Pew Research recently did a study about Christians in America. And Christianity has, in general, been going down. So it was at 51%, and I believe it is now at a whopping, I think it's 42% now. Let me check it out. I believe it was, most Americans, it was, I believe, I forgot exactly where I put that, but it's right here. But it's not where I left it though. It's right here, but not in the, I'm scrolling down too far, so I can't find it. Anyway, so let's go to the first reason. Now, the first reason that non-believers either deny or they don't believe in God is they don't want to follow the lifestyle that Jesus lived, or the one that he talks about. That's the main reason. They either they deny him, or they deny him, or they act like he doesn't exist, so that they don't feel that they don't want to be held accountable for living the tenets that Jesus taught. They don't want to be caught up in Christianity, because when people say that you're a Christian, you are kind of put in a box, meaning you can't use cuss words, you can't dance or twerk, you can't do a lot of the stuff that she does and still call yourself a Christian. So that is a logical explanation for her. And a lot of Americans feel like, well, I might as well not be a Christian if I can't do all of these things. And for those rules are in place for a reason. But sometimes those reasons that God gives for us not to do stuff keeps us out of trouble, and it keeps us out of harm's way. When we start to do those things, then we get into trouble and we get into harm's way, and we're like, oh, well, what kind of God would put us in this type of situation? Well, that God wouldn't put you in that situation. That God told you not to do it. But people tend to still want to do whatever they want to do and then still blame God. But at the end of the day, they don't want to follow the tenets that Jesus talks about. They don't want to live that beatitude lifestyle. They don't want to be peacemakers. They want to be, causing dissension or in the gossip. I mean, there's a lot of rules to Christianity that you have to follow as many as you can. Obviously, you can't follow every single one of them, especially in the Old Testament. But for the most part, you can follow the rules of, the Bible, where you're a bit more reserved than the average person. Most people don't want to be reserved. They like to bully reserved people. But all in all, Jesus is the main reason. They don't want to follow him, or they don't want to follow his tenets. And then they outright deny him his godhood, and they'll reduce him down to a prophet or just a person that is good to live by, like Buddha or something. And that's just not. It's not the same thing. It's not on the same level at all. So the number one reason I would say would be they don't want to follow the lifestyle that Jesus lived or he talked about. The second reason is that they were not raised to know God, or they refused to know him as an adult. So when I say that they weren't raised to know God, just because you went to church as a child doesn't mean that you knew God then or you know God now. When I was a child going to church, I went to church for God. I remember having a spiritual experience with God when I was a child, because I was involved in wanting to know who God was for myself. A lot of children don't have that experience, either because they're not searching God for themselves, or they're just church goers like their parents. So sometimes the parents will go to church, but then when they get home, it's the same thing. They don't really actually do the things that the Bible talks about doing. So for me, for instance, I had seen my grandmother doing all the things that the Bible asked her to do. She lived a reserved lifestyle. She read and studied her Bible all the time. And she primarily had pretty good results. She didn't really get too many shortcomings happening. We lived just basically a modest lifestyle, but at the end of the day, there wasn't too much friction going on. There was ups and downs for sure, but nothing too out of place and too out of crazy. So for me, that was what I wanted. But I had an aunt and an uncle who lived a reserved lifestyle, but they like to have a lot of money. And so I've seen both parts of it. So you could either live modestly, or you could, still be a Christian and have a lot of money. So I really do think that how you are raised as a child and your reflection or your interpretation of what Christianity is and who God is when you're little does play a big part on seeking that relationship with him. Because I wanted to know what it was like to know God for myself, because the adults seem to want to know who God was for themselves. And so I thought, I thought it best for me to try to get to know God on my own as well. And I would always hear them say this over and over and over again. You don't let the preacher or the pastor tell you who God is. You have to know him for yourself. So this was taught to me in my household. So we weren't just church goers. We were church goers and church doers. So it does matter what you see when you're a little, when you're a child. It matters how you perceive God. And it also matters when you're adult, because when you're adult, you're looking at people, seeing if people are out there searching for God as well. You're looking for the same things. Do I see all these people searching for God outside of my home. And sometimes you'll see it and sometimes you don't. And it really does depend on the circle you decide to be a part of. If you are around a bunch of atheists, well, no, of course nobody's going to be searching for God. They're going to be looking as far away from God as they can so that they can, do whatever it is that they do that makes them sleep at night. But yeah, I think that's like the major issue, for the second major reason why non-believers don't believe in God is because of how they were raised when they were in their youth. And the third reason is they worship other gods. So Amber Rose, in the interview, she referred to herself as a Buddhist, or she's getting into Buddhism because it's a philosophy, religion. So it's basically just a framework, and then you can kind of plug and play. So she kind of likes that kind of thing. A lot of people that do Buddhism, they say that it's a peaceful. It's not really a religion or a peaceful type of thing, and it allows them to kind of not really be responsible for anything. They don't really have to be responsible for anybody but themselves, as opposed to Christianity or Catholicism. Catholicism, there are rules, and some of those rules require that you help other people, are required. And if you don't, it's not part of the religion. Part of the religion is that you do help other people and people who are primarily not in the religion. So a lot of people kind of get the cooties about that because they're like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to have to deal with people like that. I just want to do me. And that to a degree, that's understandable, right? Because you just want to be kind of, you want to be in that reserve mode all the time. But Christianity is also about being a little bit more just out there, putting yourself out there, a little bit more of a free spirit in a way, but also sharing the gospel with people, but getting to know people and showing people that there are other ways. There are so many different ways to worship God. And when I say different ways, meaning your lifestyle. Like I was telling you, my grandmother was more modest with her lifestyle. She went home, she went to work, she went home. She went to our, family's house, cousin's house, stuff like that. But other than that, she, I didn't see her going out, hanging out with friends and stuff like that. Now, my aunt, she basically did the same thing, but hers, which she would travel a lot. She would be in and out of town. She'd be going to hair shows. And within reason, right? She had a different lifestyle, but she found other ways to worship God in her life without dishonoring God. She wasn't going to no strip clubs. She would be going to banquets and, joining sister groups and, clubs and stuff like that. But like wholesome clubs, like knitting clubs and stuff like that. But either way, they found ways to incorporate, or found creative ways that they could share the gospel, creative ways that they could be involved in other people's lives outside of their immediate family, because that's what's part of the religion. You have to try to get involved outside of just your little Christian circle. So a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people are becoming way more introverted than extroverted these days. And so Christianity is becoming a cutoff because of that, and other gods are becoming more appealing because really they don't hold you accountable for being your brother's keeper or your sister's keeper. They just want you to be a self-keeper, which you should be a self-keeper. There's nothing wrong with that. But beyond that, you should be trying to help others, especially if you can, outside of people that's in your circle or your, indirect circle. I mean, people that you really don't know. That to a lot of people, they don't want to do anything like that, even though their business consists of people that they don't know helping them. Even though that's the case, that doesn't matter to them because it's really just about them. And which brings me to number 4, which is they want to be worshiped. They want to be worshiped. They don't like the attention that Jesus gets, and he hasn't been here in 2,000 years. So one of the things Amber Rose did say is that she doesn't believe that Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead and died for her sins. So we know that the spirit of truth does not live in her. So she's not going to be able to tell the truth, live in her truth, and she's always going to be searching for it, only because she denies the creator of her being and his son and the Holy Spirit. Now, she can do that. That's her choice, but she'll always be searching for the truth, and she'll never find it until she accepts the one truth, that the creator of in the Bible is her God. She can't accept that, she'll never be at peace, because that's where peace lives and that's where peace comes from. So to me, in the interview, she did sound like she is on a spiritual journey, which I wish her the best. I bless her. I hope that she does eventually find the truth. I really do. I hope she finds it in her heart. I hope she finds it in her mind. And I hope that she finds it in her soul, because she is trying to put the pieces together and there's no alignment there. She broke up with her boyfriend some time ago, and I'm going to read the article in just a second here. She broke up with her boyfriend because he had been cheating on her, and then she also basically stopped speaking with her mother. She doesn't do her mom anymore. So I'm like, okay. But she said that she loves her mom, and that she, maybe one day it'll, come back around, which I hope that it does, because, those types of relationships really suck when the mom, because I have that kind of problem too with my mom. She is one of those type of women that has really decided to just kind of, the relationship could be better. I'll just say that. And so I completely understand when she says she wants it to be there and she just doesn't want to talk about it. It is a lot. It's a lot. And it does take two people. It takes both people being on the up and up, not with just each other, but with themselves. And if you're not on the up and up with yourself, there's no way that we can even reason with each other, because you're still at war with yourself. And so I hate that part, because I feel like I kind of understand that, just because that's what been the relationship between me and my mother for some time. But I did want to say that she's in these relationships that it don't end up on the up and up. She sounds like she still loves Wiz Khalifa. Sounds like he still loves her, which they have a child together. So I'm sure that they have to communicate, and I'm sure there's no love lost. They have to parent, co-parent with each other, which I wish them the best with that. I've co-parented with my son's dad for quite a bit, and so I understand the love that's still there. But after that, she's had a few relationships that haven't they haven't panned out to be the best, and it's mostly because she hasn't found herself. And you can't have a relation, you cannot build something and there's nothing to build upon. You have to know who you are and what you want and how you're going to get there. Now, money doesn't mean you're building. She's still trying to find herself. That means that she's built an empire with money. But she doesn't have a legacy. And I feel like that's what she wants. That's what she's looking for, because she has 2 children that I think she has 2. She may have more than that, but she has 2 children that she has to pass the legacy on to. And she has no solid ground to pass them on to. She has 2 different children's dads. So I don't know what the philosophies are of the dads. They seem to be successful. They seem to know what they've got going on, and she kind of seems like she's still looking for it. So I feel like she's still really trying to find herself, and she's going through religion, and because it hasn't worked for her, this is one of the reasons why she's rejected it. But you have to be after the relationship. You can't be on it's not really a selfish thing. Christianity isn't about just yourself. And when people find that out, they reject it because they want it to be just about them. And it is about you, but it's more than that. And there's an end to it. The end is that we all can share a piece of the pie. And I think some people are just not ready for that. Now, who's to say Amber Rose is? I really do believe that she is trying to find herself. But when you pursue that, in my experience, when I pursued the relationship with God, that's when I started to find all different parts of myself. And I was able to really see who that was for me, be shown who that was from God. So I think that is uber important for you to know who God is and to always get to know him, to keep a relationship with him going, because that's really what the vibe is. When God says to seek his face, he talks about how David was after his own heart. David was after a relationship with God, a true, genuine relationship. Nothing else mattered. Not all the trinkets, not the stature, not anything but the relationship. That's when you know that it's love. And that's what God is looking for, love. And he knows because he is love. So you genuinely wanting to know who he is and genuinely wanting to pursue that relationship is love. It's your way of loving him. And so he'll make sure that you and him meet. And so let's go over the last reason, which is pride. So pride is the last reason. This is, they know that there's a God. However, they only choose to call him the universe or a source or something else other than God. They don't want to actually give the creator any credit because that's just it's way too much. It's like, whoa, don't do that. Because then now, again, they have to follow those rules, and nobody wants to follow those rules. They don't want to follow those rules. They want to plug and play. They just want a framework. They don't want to they don't want to actually serve God. So it's pride. They'll take the framework and then plug and play as they please. They believe, and I was reading an article, and one of the quotes was that that God, as who they're referring to, they can get along just fine without him, aside for the fact that he's giving them life. So if he takes that back, they can do just fine without him. But and I quote, in the article says, he is an unnecessary addition to the universe. So they think that God is an addition to the universe as opposed to creating the universe. And not just this one, but in any other universe. It might be other universes that we don't know. But they're saying he's an addition to the universe, even though he created the universe. So they don't feel that he's not needed to live a good life, and life is better without him, because they feel like he's too controlling and there's too many limitations. Again, they just want the framework so that they can plug and play. They don't want to actually do too much of the work, or too much work that God is actually asking them to do. That's way too much. That's way too much. They just want to do stuff they just want to live for themselves, and that's it. And then their immediate family. They're not going to do anything outside of that. So don't ask them, because if you do, then that's when religion is the worst thing on the planet. Even though they're not going to be out there feeding people, they're not going to be out there clothing people. None of these people are going to be out there doing any of those things. But if God didn't require it, nobody would be doing it. Nobody. All right. Well, that's been the end of this episode. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Love you. Bye.